Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is currently May 16th, 2010, and this is Day 9 Daily number 117. Today we're going to be checking out some awesome play by Morrow, who does a build that I used to call the Morrow build. Or I should say, he used to do a build that I call the Morrow build, where in Terran vs. Terran, he would do this crazy early expand and would just barrel his opponent to death with tons of Marines and use like all his SCVs. This is way back in the patch days when SCVs had like 60 life, so they were really hard to kill. But today we're going to be watching how Terran vs. Terran has evolved. We're going to see Morrow's play in the finals of the Craftcup, where he had some pretty seriously dominating play against his opponent. And honestly, Terran vs. Terran is one of the most interesting and dynamic matchups in Starcraft 2. It's kind of funny because, like, in the original Brood War, a lot of people just hated on Terran vs. Terran because it's all tanks and Goliaths and dropships. And I always thought it was pretty cool, but no such anything exists. I mean, people are making mass air, mass factory units, mass barracks units. I mean, it's just crazy, changing all over the place. So we'll try to watch Morrow's games, get a little bit of insight into things, and hopefully we'll end up improving our Terran vs. Terran, because that is the goal of the Day 9 Daily. I do want to just make a handful of announcements. I did some awesome casts with Greetorp yesterday morning, and this morning was awesome. We had 20,000 viewers for yesterday and about 15,000 this morning. It was fantastic. It was for the Gosu Gamers Europe vs. Asia Invitational. It's basically a show match series between Europe and Asia, and I won't spoil any results for anyone, but those videos will be up soon on my Blip TV account, day9tv.blip.tv. I'm also finally in the process of re-encoding and uploading the things into there, so yeah, that's going to be awesome. So you can obviously get all my videos on demand over there. What else? Oh yeah, Greetorp and I are going to be casting that same tournament 3 weeks in a row. So Saturday and Sunday, next week, the week after that, and the week after that, tons of crazy Asia versus Euro Starcraft action going on there. So I'm delighted to be part of that. Yeah, and without further ado, let's just switch over to the main screen. And by the way, do you like my overlay? It's my fancy schmancy overlay right there, because check this out, covering up the replay bar. That's fantastic, and I can even resize it. Look at my technology. Oh yes, fantastic. By the way, for any of you who are watching this on demand right now, or for any of you who are watching live and having lag issues, not the thing I wanted to open. There we go. Let's change that tab. There we go. For any of you having issues, ad block is a known issue. For any of you having, like 5 seconds of video, then a whole bunch of stuttering, and then another 5 seconds of video and stuttering, that's your ad block getting in the way of the advertisement. For some reason, Ustream's streaming service just completely does not like ad blocking. So disable that and see how it turns out. And definitely let me know if that improves the stream quality. Either way, we have Morrow spawning in the top right here as the red Terran. And in the bottom left here, we have his opponent, Jimpo, spawning as the blue Terran. Now, Morrow, as I was saying beforehand, used to love doing this insane style where he would go 1 barracks, fast expand, and then make like 4 more barracks and just Marine SCV his opponent to death. Yes, SCV was like the fundamental component to what he was doing, because the opponent's everything really auto-targets SCVs, so it makes it really hard to actually battle his Marine count. So Morrow abused this and just went mass Marine with tons of SCVs all game long. And already, look at this SCV I'm following around. This is some awesome fancy stuff that he's doing. He does not want to lose to any cheese. Look at that. Just made sure that nothing was going to get in his way of, any sort of early game. He scouted out this entire area, and other than that, his entire play is normal. He has a normal play. I love that. I love it when players transition from doing something kooky, like, sending an SCV and scouting everywhere, and then just pull right back and do something as normal as possible. It's all those little things that end up really upping your win percentage by quite a bit. Otherwise, it looks like Morrow is not doing the Morrow build. He is, in fact, just doing the pretty standard, getting the gas on 13, going to be getting an orbital command on 15. There it goes. Hooray, and making a Marine. Pretty much most normal thing in the world. And he's scouting his opponent, nothing weird going on here. And also note the timing of this. As he gets to his opponent's base, I'm going to need to slide this just a little bit over. Yep. As he gets to his opponent's base, this is about the time when he would have realized, or I should say, this is the time that he would have needed to do some sort of big deviation if his opponent was doing anything funky. Up until then, notice that like the SCV just got here right when the orbital command finished and the barracks finished. A lot of people sort of default scout on something like, 12. They just do it right when their barracks is building. Or, you know, a lot of Protosses scout right when they build their gateways. And it's always so useful to stop and say, is that really useful? Is there some piece of information I desperately need to get right now? And a lot of times the answer is no, there really is not. So you can delay your scouting by a little bit, and you can get away with that pretty effectively. So Morrow doing a good job just scouting a little bit later than normal. You know, he technically scouted around here early on, but pulled it right back. You do end up getting quite a bit more minerals if you delay your scouting by a little bit. Hopefully he kills this SCV, because I always hate it when an SCV manages to escape my base, doing a little bit of sparring, and God, Morrow getting real aggro with his Marines. Easy there, Morrow. But he pulls back. Nice and normal, and he's getting a factory down. Now, just in terms of some of the trends that we've been seeing in this matchup, the Terrans have really been favoring tanks a lot more against one another. Tanks just obliterate Marines because they do 60 damage a shot with normal damage. And for a tank to be able to do that, that means he one-shots Marines. He's able to do a lot more damage versus Zealots, and even Marauders are a lot less threatening, especially when you get that +1 attack upgrade for the tanks and can kill the Marauders in 2 shots. So we do see that Morrow is getting this Tech Lab upgrade. Marine Tank is sort of the strategy flavor of the week for Terran vs. Terran. But the issue with tanks is the same issue that was in StarCraft 1. You need the extra vision range to be able to abuse the fact that tanks can shoot farther than they can see. So here is the first tank coming out. Hooray for Morrow, doing the smart thing, adding on some Marines. Nice little exchange there. Just made 3 Marines and then did the swap. If we go to his opponent's base, his opponent also did a pretty similar thing and is continuing to make units from his barracks. But we also see a starport coming out right now from Jimpo as well, and we will come back to that in a moment. Morrow, on the other hand, is throwing up an expansion. So you heard me saying the big problem with tanks is that you need to have the sight range. No siege mode has been upgraded yet here, but you really need to get that sight range boost. Otherwise, your tanks are not nearly as useful, especially against your opponent's tanks. So this is actually kind of an intense situation for Morrow. He really needs some way to be able to deal with this Marine tank type combo with the Vikings. Vikings are so important in this matchup because with the Vikings you're able to see farther, and then my tanks beat your tanks. It's kind of like in the original Terran vs. Terran style, where a player who opened up with 1 factory and a starport with the Wraith could get that vision range and push really aggressively. Sure, you can use your barracks, but they just float so slowly that having some sort of alternative to that is really important. And so that's why Jimpo's really doing what I would basically think is the most standard thing ever. Marine tank, but then a Viking. Not too many Vikings because they are a little expensive on gas. They are 75 gas, and you really do need to save your gas for tanks at this stage in the game. So Morrow we see expanding and then getting a starport. And there's some really insane micro that comes up here with Morrow's play. We are going to be looking at 2 to 3 games of Morrow, depending on the time that it takes to do all of those. But, I mean, really cool play by Morrow. Notice how he's positioning his units on the high ground, and notice how the tank is the unit that's farthest away from the ramp. He has his Marines positioned right here, and his tank here. A lot of times players make this mistake where they have units, you know, they'll have their Marines at the front, and they'll put the tank maybe here. And you know, that's almost how a level designer would make a single-player campaign, you know, have the Marines and the tank there, but, you know, that's really not nearly as good as you want, because you do want the tank as close as possible to this long ridge, so that way he can shoot down in as wide a range into this area as possible, but also you want him as far in the back as possible, so that's why he's way off to the left, because that's how you balance being as far forward for the range, plus being as far behind the Marines as possible, so that is beautiful positioning. Very subtle little touch there, but again, it's all those subtle touches that really improve your win percentage a ton. So siege mode coming, and Jimpo doing the most normal thing in the world. Is his siege mode done? Not quite yet. He's just going to be pushing really aggressively. Tanks not sieged do more damage than tanks sieged. As long as this siege tank is shooting at an armored unit. They do 25 damage versus armored, and they shoot so fast. I mean, look at this. It says weapon speed slow. They shoot so fast. It's like retarded how fast they shoot. I mean, look at this. I'm just watch this tank. Bam. Damn. Continuous fire, please. Bam, 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 bam. That's such a fast fire rate. And look at Morrow. He's intentionally target firing this back tank. I'm actually going to slightly rewind this as we go to the replay progress bar that I'm trying to cover up. I might actually remove this overlay. I figured out this overlay technique to use in live games, and that's actually very effective when you're casting over replays. But when you're trying to review and you're rewinding a lot, and it's like, well, no spoilers, then, you know, really, I look a little bit dumber than I do clever. But, you know, at the very least, you guys can't talk to me while I'm doing this, so I will just be embarrassed by myself. So here's the push forward, and here comes the tank. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit. The one thing that makes this obnoxious is that the P key is broken in replays. You cannot pause it. You can hit P to unpause. Hopefully that gets sorted out in the next patch. But I'm going to slow this down. We're going to open up our little health menu bar. And look at the way that Morrow is going to micro this battle. This is beautiful control. First of all, note that he had his unit pulled back here. So that way he could wait as long as possible trying to get siege mode up. And he's leading with the SCVs, again, very Morrow-esque. And look at him target firing the opponent's tank with his own tank. The Marines are pretty much firing at whatever, but he is